To remove an FSA Gossamer crankset, you need a 10mm Allen key or Allen socket. Simply engage it in the hole, hold the other crank and then turn anti-clockwise. Once it's freed off, you'll notice it will start to bind again. What you need to do is just carry on going, because this is the self-extracting assembly working. Just keep on going. It'll be tight at first, and then slowly it'll loosen and it'll pull itself off. You can probably see the crank pulling itself off there. Just keep going and eventually it'll just pop off. Simple. Now the crank arm is off, you can remove the crinkle washer or wavy washer. There's a spacer, and then another seal. To remove this assembly, you just need to give it a little tap with a hammer, only very gentle. There we are, and it's come loose, and then slowly pull it through. The other crank arm has a seal, the same as the other side. You can pull that off. A spacer. And that's it. I'm now going to inspect the bottom bracket. Now this bearing, that feels quite smooth. There is a circlip at the back there, a large circlip, which holds it in place and stops it going into the recess there. You can probably see it on the back of this one. Now this bearing feels notchy, and that must be the cause of my click-clack. I'm not really impressed. It's only done about 500 miles, this bike, and it's failed already. The interior looks quite clean. I don't know why it's failed. The seals look good, there's no marks on them. Disappointing. If you look at this bearing surface, it looks very clean. Now I've just turned my bike round to have a look at the other bearing, and there's some deposits on there. I'll turn the bike round and let you see. On this side you can see the bearing has some sort of brown deposit just round this edge here where the seal would be. Now the seals look good, but you never know, there might have been some ingress, and I think that's what's caused the failure of this bearing. When you put a finger on it, it does feel notchy, unlike the other bearing which is nice and smooth. I've established this is the faulty bearing. It's really quite notchy. But I've got a ride this weekend, and until I can get a new bearing or get the warranty sorted, I'm going to try and do a temporary fix. So if you use a blade, you can slowly just prise off the seal, exposing the bearing. Now it's all a bit gunky looking in there, so I think that's definitely the cause of the failure. I'm going to try and squirt in some of this fluid here, it's GT85, and just take out some of this gunk and then pack it with grease. Hopefully that'll see us through my ride this weekend. Still notchy, but I think with a bit of grease that might be okay. I've managed to do a temporary fix on the bearing by repacking it with grease. I then reassembled the crank arms and tightened the 10mm bolt to between 35 and 40 Newton meters, maximum 41 Newton meters. If there's any play in the assembly, you can add more shims, but you know, it should be okay as it was shipped. As you can see, the click clack has gone. So hopefully this is a temporary fix for my ride.